Hello and welcome to Deft and Dorky. We are going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, specifically the campaign that we are
We're gonna
playing.
talk about it.
We're going to talk about it.
Talking about
So, the idea with this is to just kind of go over some of maybe the internal things the characters are feeling or thinking about, and just to kind of discuss their or your points of view on different plot points within the campaign. Sound good?
Ish.
Sounds good.
And if we have anyone in chat today, I will be watching it. So if you have questions, we can answer them from chat. But to start us off, I have some stuff written down. How do all of your characters feel about the Arcane Aegis?
How do you feel inside? Sucks, dude.
Yeah.
Does it suck?
So,
Like,
yeah, go ahead.
nah, you should go first, Mouse, because
I should go first.
we should start off on a high note.
So, the way I am playing Mouse is that he has a very big internal struggle going on with the Arcane Aegis. He's not very fond of them, but he's not against them either. So he's now in a party with people that are either really against the Aegis or really don't care about the Aegis, and he's trying to deal with this like, okay, yeah, you want to kill Aegis people. I'm not sure Mouse doesn't really want to kill anyone. He's not against them, and he has friends in the Aegis. Marcellus, I believe, is one of his friends who is unaccounted for, and we haven't been back that far for him to check on it in the campaign. So he kind of grew up with his father, or adopted father, really, as one of the high up people in the Arcane Aegis, and he grew up with the Aegis. So now he's really struggling with how to feel about the Aegis now. Now that he's in a party with like warlocks, which in his mind has always been not a good not a good influence on the realm, I guess. But yeah, so he's really struggling with the Arcane Aegis, but he doesn't hate the Arcane Aegis. He's not sure he loves the Arcane Aegis. He's just kind of like right in the middle, but he doesn't want to take action against them either. So that's where Mouse is with the Arcane Aegis.
All right.
Like you're hanging out with a bunch of kids that, like you grew up super Christian or whatever, and you're hanging out with kids that like are non-believers, and you're like, oh,
More like
You're like, oh, this is.
yeah, it's
Whoa.
more like Mouse really like he really likes arcane stuff. Like he's a wizard, obviously, and he wants to learn as much as he can. So is he not against warlocks or their spells? He finds them fascinating in a way, and he wants to even learn them. I think at one time Mouse even asked Saturn if he could teach him how to do a spell, Eldritch Blast or something. I forgot what it was, and he was like, "Can you teach me that?" Because he's really into like learning new things, and that's kind of where I'm at with Mouse's character.
Okay.
you have like an unorthodox background too. I think that probably.
Yeah, Mouse's
Yeah,
background. Yeah, Mouse's background's a little odd. He grew up on the streets as an orphan, never knew his parents. He was found at a young age with a thieves guild in Brable, the other town that we haven't spent much time in. But he grew up in the thieves guild there, had a friend. They grew up as children together, and he was very scrawny. He's still a very scrawny guy. Not very no muscles. He's just like very scrawny, and he got his nickname he was the guy that they asked to go climb through little holes to get things. So he got a nickname called Mouse, and that's his nickname. He's never had an actual name. So he never, he just adopted Mouse as his name. So that's kind of where his name came from. But yeah, he went to rob his master, who his master is Tasserin, and he saw a pouch of gold hanging off of him when he was younger. Him and Paraphane, his friend, and when he got caught, never steal from a wizard is kind of the rule, but he thought he could do it, and Tasserin took him in from there and kind of raised him, taught him the ways of the arcane. So that's kind of where his odd backstory is. Yeah, that's
All right.
what I have.
What about Saturn and Jace?
I think Saturn growing up the way he did, being told hide what you are from the ages. He's always had a very strong feeling of hatred towards them. I think throughout the campaign he started to realize really there's good and bad things in just about everything, even the ages. Like Mouse, and I'm thinking Tasserin probably. Might be a good egg.
Even now, we're learning things about Tasser, and even Mouse is starting to question, like, what did I really know about this man? So yeah, so there's that.
So there's been a lot of changing feelings, somewhat, but there is still an intense hatred and a want to find out which ones are the ones that need to be weeded out.
Yeah, I think that, like, I mean, I wasn't there that night, but the whole assassination experience, like, I got the vibe that it was just kind of like, oh, well, what's next? Like, we are not that broken up about that guy dying. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, frankly, this could be a good thing. You know, who knows? So, yeah, I know, like, I mean, we've talked about this a little bit, but, like, Jace, his family's, you know, calling in life, his family's employment was literally smuggling warlocks out from under the eye of the Aegis. So it's like, they've always been the bad guy. They definitely murdered his father and kind of separated his family in a big way. So even now, it's just like, seeing them as this, like, necessary evil is like this very problematic, you know, reconciliation to be made for him. Like, I think that it felt very much a semi-betrayal when he found out that his brother was a part of it. And even, like, swallowing the pill, like, hey, I'm doing this because I'm looking for even worse things, or I'm investigating, like, where our father, like, that felt like, okay, this is a kind of a hard pill to swallow still. You know, I get it, but not a huge fan of that necessarily. I don't think Jace is still, you know. So
How did Jace reconcile that by joining the Aegis himself?
I mean, did he?
He
Like,
sort of did.
he helped his brother. Like, that's how I view it. It's like, it was very much
No,
like,
I mean,
okay, my
like,
brother.
before that, when you were actually attending.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, that felt purely, like, survivalist in a big way. Like, Jace had these newfound wild magic powers, and it's just
Okay.
like, if I don't get this under control, I'm gonna die. So, it also kind of felt a little bit, again, like, well, they are, like, a preeminent worldwide institutional knowledge base. If I'm going to figure out what the freak happened, it might be through this authority, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay.
still, though, I think he was very rebellious throughout the whole process.
Let me ask this: do any of your characters see the Aegis for what it once was, or do you only sort of relate to it through the way you've experienced it, as opposed to the history of it? If that makes sense.
I only perceive it as the way I've grown up with it,
Okay.
being they're tyrants trying to kill me.
Fair.
I think, like a lot of people, the history is lost on them. So it's just like,
Yeah,
the difference between... I was gonna say there's a difference between what I'm experiencing now and like what may have been the case a long time ago, and I can still disagree with how it's being enforced.
Yeah.
So
And for me, from Mouse's point of view, I mean, they did teach him the arcane arts. That's what he needed, and he wasn't one to like pay attention so much, other than learning the spells that he wanted to learn, to, let's say, the history or the background of the Aegis. He didn't really care. He was there because he was told to go there. Like, he wasn't. It was just it was like going to school. Do you care where your school? It was like Tasker made him go to school. And do you care what your school did in 1976? No, you really don't care what your school did in 1976. You're there to learn what you need to learn now. And that's kind of how I play Mouse. That's how I see Mouse as seeing it.
Okay. Well, follow-up question then. How does Mouse feel about the discovery that Tasserin was involved with the aftermath?
Yeah, see, now that Mouse is he thought I wouldn't say he never loved Tasserin. Like, he was kidnapped by Tasserin. Let's face it. He knew he was kidnapped by Tasserin. But Tasserin brought him in, gave him a home, food. I mean, he lived on the street. I mean, his home was a thieves guild until Tasserin took him in. So he respected Tasserin. He kind of looked at Tasserin as a father figure, and now he's finding out these things that Tasserin hid from him, and now he's not sure, like, was Tasserin as good as he thought he was, or is he involved in something more sinister, and he's not really sure how to feel about Tasserin now. He's kind of up in the air. He's like, up until, a few weeks ago, a few game weeks ago, or maybe months ago, when he started finding out these things that, with the aftermath and the stuff in his books, and he's kind of lost about it, and he don't really know what to think. Now he's thinking he don't know Tasserin as much as he thought he did, that maybe Tasserin hid a lot more from him than he knew. If that answers that, hopefully.
Okay. What does everyone else think about the dynamic between the aftermath and the Aegis?
Well, there's what Brian thinks, and then there's what Jace thinks.
Okay, give me both of them.
So I view it as like, there's always going to be some other power authority that wants to usurp that which is in charge, and like, even then, I mean, Jace is also kind of like, I think when we first went there, like, we were seriously debating back and forth, like, should we join these guys or at least see what they're up to? Because, like, yeah, screw the Aegis. Like, this could be an opportunity to, like, burn the world down and start over. So
That was I think, for my character, I was leaning towards that.
yeah.
I think Saturn was thinking, if ever there was an opportunity to strike out against the Aegis, this might be it.
I think that would have been kind of a fun way to take the campaign.
Yeah. And I remember that session, and for me, it was like they wanted to use Mouse to try to get in with them, and Mouse he didn't want to have anything to do with them, because he's already thinking, what's Tasserin into? And he was willing to go along with it because he was curious maybe to find out a little bit more, like, what Tasserin was into, but he really didn't want to have anything to do with the aftermath. He wanted to kind of, like, stay away from it. It just felt dangerous to him. But he is also very loyal to his group of friends that he has now, and if that's what they wanted, he was willing to go along with it.
Nice.
All right. So where do you think that how do I word this? So how do you think your characters are looking at the Aegis now, after having essentially helped to keep it afloat or in power?
I view that instance as I'm helping Jace's brother, so I'm helping Jace, not the Aegis.
Okay.
Yeah, a very singular moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think the door is still open to be like, I'd have a conversation with whoever that wizard guy was, just see what's up. Like I really would.
Yeah, Jensamar is scattered to the wind at this point.
Yeah.
And as far as
Brian is curious. Sorry, go ahead.
as far as Mouse goes with the Aegis now, he looks at the Aegis as, because he worked his way up a little bit just from learning. Like that went from like red robes to purple robes, right? So he almost made his way up to what the field agent or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Isn't that what you decided? Yeah. So he worked his way up a little bit in the Aegis. So he looks at the Aegis now as maybe a place to get information, nothing he wants to like burn a bridge to. Still useful to him, to maybe for his learning, because Mouse is still about learning new things, trying to increase his arcane power, and he doesn't want to burn that arcane bridge with the Aegis.
So was Mouse like pleased to help the Aegis like snuff out the aftermath?
I think Mouse wasn't pleased, but he wasn't unhappy about it. He was kind of on the fence. Like, it could have went either way, but in a way, I guess he's more happy that they're still there, because he doesn't have an in with the aftermath like he had an in with the Aegis to get that information.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
And then we had a question in chat about the Aegis. The Aegis is a worldwide organization that polices the use of magic, more or less. But as with any large organization, it can have corrupted parts. They have a section that is designated to finding and ridding the world of warlocks. And they're just kind of like, they were initially founded because of a war that almost ended very badly and almost had someone like take over the world via the use of magic. So they were founded to sort of make sure that doesn't happen again. But that was a long time ago, and they've sort of gone through several different sets of people, so it's its own thing now. Let's see. We can move on from the Aegis and the aftermath. What do I got? Saturn, how does your character feel about your relationship with Selûne and or Shar?
I think right now he could care less about Selûne, other than thanks for the power.
Okay.
Thanks for the power. Sure.
He's smart enough to know I'll treat her kindly, and hopefully maybe even gain some more insight onto things when need be. But with Shar, I think he's very, very mixed up in that, because there's still a part of him that, when he got that feeling that she was there, it was curious in the sense of, is she coming for me? And could there be an opportunity to get that back? Not that I would, but the thought is there. It would be a decision in the moment, I think, for Saturn right now.
Okay.
He's very still not all the way done with that.
So, because there was like she, like, Shar really did protect you for a long time, but as it sort of unfolded, you kind of started to realize that it was more about protecting herself. How does Saturn reconcile that? Or is he still?
He's so twisted. He's so twisted in that, because they've been together since he was 4, and he's like 21, 22 now. So they were together for a very long time, and for a very long time it was just her. And that really warped his sense of who to trust, who to follow, what to think about things. And even in the moment with Selûne, he almost still doesn't trust her fully.
Okay.
Even having seen her and fight her. Really for him, she took away the one thing that was everything to him for his whole life, pretty much, until Vonick.
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know about the others, but I feel like we kind of walked away from that, like, not necessarily feeling awesome. Like, from Jace's perspective, it was kind of like, what the freak was that? Okay, let's not talk about that anymore.
In that moment, that was, if I would have gotten away, I would have made a new character.
Yeah.
Because Saturn was not coming back. He was dead set that she's who she's saying she was, and whoever this is an imposter and has clearly fooled you guys.
Okay, I think this is kind of a cool question. Like, have you guys thought of other points where you would be like, my character would probably depart and like I should make a new one? Does that make sense? Like, not like Brian's tired of this and wants to, but it's just like, this would be a really good jumping off point for Jay. So for like example, like we found my mom and my dad is dead, and like I've found my one brother. There's an element of like Jace knows that his other brother is wrapped up in some kind of infernal nonsense, I think. And like, I think if there was a lead that took him far enough away from where we were wanting to go as a party, like, it could warrant, like, hey, Jace is probably going to go try and save his brother. Like, if there was urgent. And so Brian would be like, all right, I'm going to let Jace go do that, and it's time to make a new character.
I think,
even though I'm not, like, fed up. I'm not fed up with Jace.
I think as a party, we would all kind of go, well, we're coming too.
We're coming too, yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
But if there was like, I'm trying to think, like other potential examples. Like if we had something like the world is ending, but also like, I don't know.
Like you're talking about like a story arc that would make your character want to like go off on his own.
Yeah. So I mean, Joe's example is perfect. Like if Saturn managed to get away, he'd be like, those guys are freaks, I'm on my own now. Then Joe makes a new character because Saturn would not hang around with them anymore. And I get that, and I think that's awesome in a weird way.
He just, in the moment, especially with Vonick, I think there was a long time where Saturn was so upset and felt betrayed by Vonick. And that he was kind of the one who stopped me when I felt like out of everyone he would have came with me.
Yeah.
So there was a couple sessions there where I was like figuring, you're trying to process so many things. She lied, obviously. Now Nosh is here, the one that's been trapped. And I don't even know what to think about that. And now I'm finding out things about my parents that Nosh is telling me. And I'm like, well, now I have to see this stuff through and figure out what really happened. So there's still a lot of... Saturn just is in a state of, I don't know what's going on. And I have to get to the bottom of it. That's why he's so dead set on trying to find out what's been going on with his mom and dad.
Yeah, because, like, what do we know right now? Like, we're actively seeking your dad right now, is that right?
Yeah.
And we had a thread for your mom that led to that hag.
Yeah,
and then
she was not giving us very much.
Yeah.
She sold my mom to somebody else.
We got... So that, and we found a piece of paper that she had again or something with the Shalandro thing.
Yeah.
I feel like there's so many roads that lead back to that right now. So, I think after we check out your dad's stuff, I mean, this is starting to like get back, getting ahead of ourselves to like when we play again. But I think when we do, I want to see this dad thing through for you. I think that's interesting. But then I feel like we got to get back to freaking the Bermuda Triangle place or whatever, like the researchers. I can't remember if we talked to them since we found out that word. 'Cause that word was also in Truth Seekers or Truth Digger or whatever. It was on his wall. And didn't we find something with it with Traylor?
No, Traylor didn't.
No.
I think you asked him and he didn't know what it was, I believe.
Okay. Oh. Anywho.
That does sort of lead into one of the other questions I wrote down, though, about Saturn. Just how is Saturn feeling now that he's after learning that his mother has effectively been sold to someone? So yeah, his mother and her quarry both sold off.
He's so indifferent about it because he has no idea who she is. And he never grew up with that. And he grew up in such a weird setting where family really wasn't the most important thing. It was really like training, studying. He looked up to Tempest. He saw Tempest as a father figure in a sense, but not really a warm, nurturing, loving go-getter of a dad. It was more of a business-like, this is how you stay alive. This is how you get stronger. You need to study. Stop goofing off.
Stop
Can I-
goofing around.
I remember early on, I felt like there was so much apprehension about if Tempest was going to be at something that we were at. Like, you would always be like...
Yeah, during the handball tournament, you were looking
Yeah.
for him.
And I got the vibe that you were, like, hoping we wouldn't run into him. Am I wrong about that?
That's it. That was a moment where he was at a stage where he's going. He knows Tempest is way stronger than we were at that time.
Uh-huh.
And there's really nothing he can really do anything if Tempest were to come after him. And Shar is the only one he's really trusted. Even through living with Tempest, he grew kind of attached to Tempest, but like I said, it was more of a stay alive type of a thing. And when he found out that Tempest was lying, it was like okay, I can only trust Shar. But obviously Vonic misheard or saw something he shouldn't have.
And
Yeah,
sorry,
that was
But
a weird.
but
that
at
was
the
a weird thing.
time, yes, Saturn was absolutely terrified of running into him because that's why the Vonic and Saturn story kicked off. We were running away from him.
okay, you ran away from, like...
Yeah,
home.
it was like we met up with you guys 2 weeks after we ran.
Okay. And,
So-
like, because he was some kind of criminal something or something?
He was like the ringleader of what Vonic's trying to take down.
Oh, okay.
Is what
Vonic-
we thought.
Yeah, Vonic caught him talking to the guy that captured Vonic. He went and told Saturn, and Saturn went to confront him, and he's like, "Well, yeah, I was doing that." And then before he sort of got to talk it out, Saturn was like, "Oh crap," and ran and cast darkness on
Char's
his
going,
way
you
out.
gotta go, you have to go.
Yeah, so he
And
cast
it's like,
darkness
yeah.
on his way out, and then because of that, Tempest had to like stay and convince the Aegis of what was going on. And he was a warlock, so he has a high charisma and was able to do so, but he couldn't immediately give chase after Saturn because he had to take care
Tempest
of the
is also a
incoming Aegis.
warlock?
Mhm.
Do we know who his patron is? Or can I ask that?
You guys talked about it in the campaign. It's some archfey. He didn't know their
Okay.
name.
There was a question in Twitch. It was a few weeks back, maybe 4 or 5 weeks now, and I forgot which person asked that, but it completely got ignored. And I thought, well, this is a good thing I'll try to remember this for Fireside. But it was they were asking Saturn, how is Saturn coping? I don't know if they worded it exactly like that. Basically, it meant how is Saturn coping emotionally with Vonic being gone? It was shortly after Vonic left, that question. So I don't know. I just remember seeing that.
I think for Saturn, he's looking at it as an opportunity to. It's like leaving home for the first time. Now he has no safety net of anything. He's kind of branching out on his own. So he's kind of looking at it as this is a cool opportunity to grow and kind of become my own person. I've kind of just, especially here recently, besides the stuff with my patron, I kind of just started following Vonic into what I was feeling like he wanted to do. And I was tagging along, making sure I was okay. I knew Vonic was always had my back and was strong enough to deal with whatever we needed to deal with. I mean, he tackled a dragon.
He sure did.
That was awesome.
So he's kind of on a high note. And also, I feel like Saturn would think this is a good time to get some space away from him after what happened with Shar. It gives him time to think away from being in a situation where it's like, I need to be on my A game, so we're protecting each other.
I can see why that question got posed, because you guys played it off. You guys were so tight, like hitting each other's butts.
Well, I thought like I had a couple of sessions, and then it was like, all right, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was kind of
why somebody asked that, but
because like the day before, like the week before he was gonna take a break, he was telling me he was gonna play, like we're gonna come up with a way and take a little bit of time and take a couple of weeks to shuffle him into being out. So I was like, okay, so we're gonna deal with what we're dealing with right now, and then once we get an opening, he'll leave. No, it was just like boom, and I was like, oh.
See you later.
It was so fast and instant, and it was kind of a shock. So it kind of felt like a shock to Saturn. I had to quickly go, all right, it's my time.
somebody did ask the next session. I don't know if you saw it, Isaac. Somebody did ask why he left. Why he quit playing.
I replied in the comments basically from the way that Eric told me. Yeah, the way that Eric told me was that he was getting kind of burnt out on all the D&D stuff, and he just wanted to take a few of the D&D things away so that it didn't ruin it for him. So he still plays on Thursdays, but he just doesn't play on Monday. We'll do the podcast, and it seems to be working for him. So I'm glad that he's able to have fun with D&D. I wanted to know if any of you noticed or picked up on the fact that Saturn was never attacked by anything undead.
Wait, what? No. What are you talking about?
Early on, I thought so, because I was like, those ghosts were right next to me.
I never picked up on he's always a million miles in the air. I just figured I can't hit him.
And then, that kind of came about, and I was like, oh, well, I never get hit anyway.
Yeah, you had two encounters with undead stuff. One was the very first night in the tavern when those ghosts were coming through the walls. Nothing attacked Saturn. And then again in the jungle, you had some will-o-wisps attack you. One of them came up to Saturn, looked at him, and then moved on. I was just wondering if anyone had picked up on that, because that was a little foreshadowing that Selûne wasn't who she said she was.
Yeah. Now that you're saying that, I do remember picking up on that at those times, because the will-o-the-wisp did just come up right to me and go, nope.
Yeah, never caught that. That's for sure. But that is cool. Fun little thing.
Yeah, I didn't know if anyone noticed it or not, because it only the first night it wasn't apparent, because Saturn wasn't really, he was just mostly aiding, and he wasn't directly attacking, and he was always staying with people in between him and the ghosts, so it didn't look like anything. But on that second one came right up to him, looked at him, and then moved on. Yeah, okay. So you had an idea, Joe, but no one else seemed to have picked up on it at all. So that's interesting for me. um, let's see, what else do I got here? I wanted you guys to talk about the counterspell of resurrection after the Atron Ghoul fight.
Yeah. I thought it was cool. I thought it was a cool moment.
So yeah,
Like,
I'll set it up a little bit. So for anyone who happened to miss it, there was a fight with Atron Ghoul, who's basically this guy who hunts down warlocks, and he had killed Jace's dad. They fought Atron Ghoul and killed him. After they killed him, Jace went over to Atron Ghoul and started to cast Resurrection, presumably so he could kill him again or something, and Saturn counterspelled it. And you can pick it up.
That happened. No, I thought it was cool. I respected it as a choice, and so for me personally, it was kind of like one of two things: like that death wasn't good enough, or like it was too good of a death for him, or whatever, or like I also had the thought like I want to take this man to, like we had just been to Carcerai. It's like let's lock this a-hole in there. Like let's give him a fate worse than death. I was I don't know if I was going to kill him again right after. I don't even know if I had that, sorted out, but like it happened. And I was like, all right, yeah, this gives me a direction to play with as well. Cause it's like, I don't know.
I think for Saturn, he could kind of see the rage coming out of Jace, and Saturn kind of was thinking, it's over. It's time to grieve now. Let it go.
Especially like you'd been there not too long before, like just kind of a different scenario, right?
Yeah. I'm trying to process my own grief, and I know how angry and upsetting it can be to have the thing that you love taken from you.
Yeah.
And I as being really so far, Jace has been kind of the new best friend for Saturn. They kind of have the same personalities, like to joke around and cause a little bit of mayhem.
Yeah.
And that camaraderie, I kind of, in that moment, was going, take a step back, and it kind of helped Saturn go, it's okay to be in grief. It's all right to let it go. Let the emotions out.
Yeah, absolutely. Which felt right too. It was just kind of like this, because I mean, it's a different world for Jace too. Like he's got this new family that he's found, and so like I think until he was kind of tunnel vision on like I'm avenging my old one, and that was a moment where it's like, okay, you don't have to do that anymore because you have a new one, and you're lucky enough to have mom and brother still around too, so
all right. Did any of your characters have any thoughts or feelings on the what was it called? Merc Reef, that area, the We Are the Fishermen?
Oh, that whole thing.
Yeah.
Saturn, that whole time Saturn was just like, okay, let's go.
I was gonna say Mouse was creeped out. He did not want to be there. Mouse
gotta be honest.
He did not want anything to do with that place.
Yeah.
He was totally creeped out. He knew a little bit about magic, and it was confusing. He didn't know what was happening. He was very creeped out. He wanted out of there.
Yeah, it was creepy as hell. So, because like we kept running into there's something obviously wrong, I have to admit, like you've made this world and we have this map, and like I don't know, 75% of it is the sea, and so for me it was like this is awesome that we finally get to be pirating around, but
it was short lived.
It was short-lived, and that particular area was scary. So, plus D&D on water is tough. So
It's very tough. Like, I sink your ship. Oh, great. Well, okay.
yeah,
And then similar question for about Edavos, which was it was a very similar vibe, I guess. It's where you fought the Beholder in the basement
oh, that's right. Yeah,
that was effectively controlling the town.
yeah, yeah. We've run into a lot of like. You wonder why our party has a problem with authoritarian control. It's because you keep throwing us in these situations. It's like, yep, this is why we shouldn't trust any kind of power above us.
In that case, Mouse was creeped out by it, but he wanted to complete the mission because we were sent there by Graven, which is basically Paraphane, his best friend's boss. And he wanted to basically look good for his friend and complete this mission so that he could, show that how far he's come. He was trying to like show off a little bit to his friend Paraphane by completing this mission. So he was determined on that mission.
All right.
For that reason.
And then leading from that, what does everyone think about the Gilded Shadow? And them having to leave Takria and then camp out, and you're basically in your new house.
Yeah, not in love with that, but at the same time, it's a cool organization. But I do love that we're like, that's happening, and we're also like, yeah, no other treasure was here.
So yeah, for Mouse though, Mouse sees this as an opportunity. Graven and in his guild with Paraphane there, he's looking at it like maybe someday, if things don't work out with his friends, like if something was to happen, he could maybe join up with them and maybe follow that route one day. So he's trying to like stay in good graces with them.
Okay.
For that reason. Because of his past.
Saturn wants them out of our mansion. And I really, really, really wanted to insult them by keeping that armor. Especially when she tried to shoot me, and I got so lucky with that. Regards. I was like, yeah, no, this is mine now.
Have your characters, I get forgiven for lack of a better word, forgiven Lucia?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that Jace sees it as anything other than manipulation or mind control. So
I don't think she never actually shot at you, right? It was just at Saturn and
Mouse went down.
Maybe one other person.
Yeah, I guess it's easier to forget. Yeah, it's all's good, dude.
Mouse is more. He's got that ring now. The one that, and he's kind of curious. He's somewhere in the back of his mind. He's still got that ring that had the mind control ring for whatever reason. He's still kind of curious what he might be able to do with that at some point, but he hasn't had time to look into it.
And then, how do you think the encounter went with the Aftermath and Lucia? Did everyone think that went well? Or
we sure survived.
When we went upstairs, it did not go well. When we went back downstairs, it was perfectly fine.
We split that party real good.
Mouse was not happy there. He was mad. That's why he cast Disintegrate on Lucia. If you remember when he got back up. He tried to disintegrate her.
I felt Saturn in that fight felt so handicapped because of his fear of the Aegis from casting my spells. So I was just Firebolt. Firebolt. And in that fight, he kind of felt a little helpless That's why he was healing as much as he could.
Yeah, I remember you didn't cast any Eldritch Blast. Jace, I think, cast one, but he was on the opposite side of a wall where no one could really see it. And I even rolled
I
a
don't think I
perception
thought
check to
about
see
it.
if the closest guy could see it, and he couldn't.
I it was interesting too because I felt conflicted a bit too because it was like, okay, again, same thing, like new family is all running upstairs, but here's my brother, so it's like I kind of stuck with him, but I felt very conflicted. So
And then
Yeah.
Saturn didn't have too much to worry about. He was upstairs, and they were downstairs almost the entire fight. So
true.
till the very end, Saturn was upstairs during that fight, and they were downstairs. So you would have been able to cast your spells.
I was
Pretty
thinking like
well.
we were in the city.
In the city.
Well, the place we knew that magic was dampened in there, like nobody could see in.
Well, you didn't know
We
for
knew
sure.
that.
You found
We
out
didn't know
later.
for sure.
Yeah, you found out later
And-
that there were runes around
Well,
it.
I thought we knew going
My
in.
entire livelihood was based on you don't cast warlock spells in the city
Hmm.
ever.
Well, and if anything like came up in that scenario, like I would be ready to like fight my brother over it. You know, like if that came up, I'd be like, not like kill him or anything, but like, dude, come on, like that's not
I don't think he's worried about your brother. He's worried about the arcane ages teleporting in.
sure, but like
We were in the
we
city.
have this like organization here, or this like small, like they would be the first people on site probably. So
Okay.
Only way I could kind of see my Saturn using it is him thinking maybe they think it's not him, it's other people. But at the same time, like I said, since he was a kid, he's thought, I can't use this in these towns or I'm going to get hunted.
Yeah, and your Tempest effectively was. But you dealt with it, and it was okay. The Atron Ghoul fight went a bit differently than I thought it was going to. You guys' surprise round did a lot. And you were
we screwed him up.
I think it was Tempest who counterspelled the teleport, because I think Saturn had used his reaction on something else that round.
Yep.
Which was interesting. Well, I think that's about all I had written down. Unless you guys have other things you want to talk about.
I can't think of anything.
All right. Yeah. Okay. We'll call it there, and then hopefully we can get some more of these going. Maybe with different, with just like questions from people who watch. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I had a good time doing this for the first time.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that's cool.
All right, so we will call it there, and then I guess we're gonna take a break for a couple weeks, and then we'll be back to continue looking for Saturn's dad and building a clockwork arm piece for Saturn as well.
Yeah, I'm psyched for that. Where did that kind of
Mouse
come
is-
from? Was that
Mouse
like
is excited too because he wants to increase his arcane knowledge, and this is something that he's wanting to like dabble in, the enchantment part of it.
Because you multi-classed, right? Into the clockwork. Yeah. Like,
Clockwork.
was that kind of inspired by anything? Or,
Saturn had this watch that him and Tempest would work on. That was kind of the only thing that kind of brought them together as more of a father-son relationship. And it was like the only thing they kind of did that was outside of training and studying and preaching.
yeah.
So, because of that clock, he kind of got into studying that, and I used that as a catapult to awaken his sorcerer power. After he had the exchange with Char, losing the power and then gaining that new power from Selûne, when it opened up Nosh, I kind of used that as the catalyst of his true nature was a sorcerer. It was just suppressed by Shar.
Yeah.
And it formed with his relationship with Tempest and the Clock.
That's cool. I dig that. I'm excited to see how it turns out, obviously, with this individual armament, but also just like. I like it when people have a choice for multi-classing. Or, sorry, a reason.
I almost
Yeah, whenever I did the finger gun Eldritch Blast the first time, and in my head I went, man, it'd really be cool if I just had like a big hand cannon that I could charge up with Eldritch Blast and like do something cool with it.
Yeah. Oh,
So I
that's
had
awesome.
this idea of like I could use the Clockworks to store the energy in or something, and that's how it forms the bindings to hold the magic. And either turn it into a torpedo missile that explodes on impact or something. I don't know. Something cool.
Yeah, we're still working on the mechanics on that, but I think it's gonna be cool. Oh, I also wanted to ask you both, your characters and players, about Traylor.
Stuff, man.
So Mouse hasn't had much interaction with Trailer other than one time when he looked at a journal. So Mouse doesn't know much about him. He's not had much interaction.
It's I mean, like, we know that he's a piece of crap, but until we discovered that, like, he was asking for some of the same components that Reginald Booley or whatever his other name is was asking for, it's like, yeah, cool, dude, super helpful. So
Yeah, Saturn is definitely, he likes Traylor as a resource, but he's definitely fearful of how much knowledge and how mighty Traylor might be. From how smart he is and how much he knows and how much he was able to perceive just by kind of reading our bodies a little bit. I mean, he figured out I was a warlock like that, and that really has stuck around in
Yeah.
Saturn's mind.
Yeah, I don't know how much you guys remember about Trailer from Campaign 1, but that was kind of his thing.
he's not a good dude.
As far
I remember
as like
chasing
recognizing warlocks.
the hillside. I remember chasing him up the mountain.
But
Alright.
Saturn is intrigued by him very much so, and I think that's why Saturn always tries to ham it up a little bit, try to get on his good side.
All right. Okay. Well, we'll end it there then.
All right.
All right. So yeah, hopefully we'll be back in I think like 3 weeks. I think is when we're gonna be back, and we will continue with the campaign then. So until then, thanks for watching. Everybody. Thanks for coming to chat, guys, and we'll see you next time.
All right.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
I